Hey BJ,
Hey Jeff, welcome.
how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you tonight?
I'm doing fine.
How's the program so far from Kai's perspective? What's he been saying to you?
Uh, it's been positive, I think.
Good,
You seem to be working him pretty hard when he's done with the sessions. He feels like he's had a workout.
good.
So
Yeah,
he did say there's been some emphasis on footwork and understanding the court from kind of the sneakers up. So
right. Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. From the sneakers.
yeah, so I told him that's probably exactly what you needed. It's a good
Yeah,
place to start. And I said, it's an evolution because you've got 10 weeks to go or 9 weeks to go. So,
yeah, exactly. Right. So that's kind of the approach we take, like you said, from the sneakers up. We kind of build everything off of that, and it takes a good 10, 12 weeks in my experience to get everything consistent. So we're still going to be emphasizing the same things 10 weeks from now, and just getting him more and more repetitions and getting better at it,
yeah,
but then allowing us to build a lot of stuff off of that. So yeah, I'm excited. What I've seen so far, like he's a good quick learner and able to apply what we're working on really quickly. So I think
yeah, great.
got a good start so far. Hey, hey Brent, welcome
What's
Josh.
Hey,
Josh? I was about to send you the Zoom link to make sure you joined.
yeah,
All right. Yeah, we just figured out that you guys knew each other the other night.
yeah,
And Jeff here is Kai's dad, who Seu was actually playing against the other night. So
Okay,
Oh,
cool.
okay.
they're all have sons kind of in the same stage. We all just started the program this past week.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Nice meeting you.
Yeah.
So Kai is a freshman at Oyster River, and then Seu is a sixth grader, and Jack. Seu is a sixth grader at Portsmouth Middle School, right?
Yeah.
And then Joshua's son Jack is a sixth grader at Rye Middle School.
Okay.
All in the area, and all found us just recently. So I always like to kind of start with hearing your guys' perspective. My topic idea of the night was calibrated competition, which I think I've talked to all three of you about a little bit in our various conversations. So I like to hear kind of the parent perspective, if you guys are willing to share, just kind of how you've navigated that so far with your guys, and how you found the right fit with different programs and teams, and even training programs. So Jeff, since your guys the oldest, why don't you start, if you're willing to talk about what that's been like for you?
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about it because it's taken a lot of time and energy, as a dad wanting to introduce his son to sports and, you know, from an early age, maybe 5 or 6 years old, going through soccer, t-ball, basketball, other sports, you're trying to figure out what he's going to like and gravitate towards. And it was certainly trial and error and evolution. I could say he's tried a lot of different things, but basketball is the one that he landed on. And I think it had a lot to do with just our local rec program here. So Oyster River Youth Association, starting out in middle school, really organized by middle school grades. So volunteer coaches, mostly inter-community play with some travel.
Right.
And that really got them exposed to different coaches other than myself. I did volunteer for his teams, but he did have the benefit of a few parent coaches that really knew what they were talking about. But as BJ, you and I've talked about it, it was always lacking in the fundamentals for the individual.
Mm-hmm.
And because the season is so short and the tournament schedule or whatever tended to be the focus, everything turned towards team concept and just getting the kids to be able to function as five on the court.
Yeah.
So we did that for his middle school career, and then introduced him to AAU through Spartans down in Hampton at the barn.
Right.
and that was mixed. We had some good coaches there and some not good coaches. He had a lot of time on court, very busy schedule. But again, at times where I thought that he really needed the most to walk him through the basics and get him sound fundamentals, the season was just moving too quickly, and it was about team and who was playing the best, and let's get a pretty competitive squad out there. Just in the last year, he got into the high school program, which we're really psyched about. There was a summer league, there was a fall league, all organized by either the boosters or the college or the high school coach. And then, realizing that that's going to be his primary sport, we wanted more. And then through local connections, we got to BJ. So right now I'm feeling like he's at a really good place. He excelled as a freshman on the reserve team for Oyster River High School. And this is just an awesome compliment, this play practice. And he's going to pick up an AAU team this spring just because he wants more basketball. And the high school season was so short. They're done already. So he's wanting for more. So it's been an evolution, but I think being able to find your program, BJ, and tap into those fundamentals at this developmental stage is excellent, and it's going to be perfect to set him up for the next 3 years of high school.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. What do you think? What do you think would have been the magic button if you look back across everything he went through to kind of get to where he's gone? Like, what do you think would have got him there, either to a skill level sooner or just made the experience better for him overall?
Well, maybe this is a pitch for you, BJ, but Brent and Joshua, it sounds like you've got your boys in at the right time. I think it's great to get these kids the foundation that BJ's teaching at the middle school level, so that over the next few years, when they start to get into some pretty serious competition, they'll be playing with confidence and courage, and really be able to take what they're learning in these individual sessions and begin to show that sort of in the team drills and whatever, player development they'll get at whatever middle school or AAU or high school that they end up at. So the magic button for me would have been, 5th grade. I would have gotten Kai into a program like this, really got in, that confidence level up in his capabilities. And then I think he would have, bounced off from there a little faster than what I'm seeing with him now.
Yeah. Thanks for saying that. I think that's often what I see too, is kind of the accelerator button. You get that, again, building from the sneakers up, you get that fundamental layer down early, and then, you can build a skyscraper on top of that. And it's kind of an evolution, without that, it's kind of the player trying to put a lot of pieces together on their own. And like you said, they get kind of pushed to the max level of competition and, tournament teams and all that. It's hard to make time to break some of that down. But that's cool.
I agree.
So who wants to go next? I would like to hear from both you guys if you're willing to talk a little bit about what your process has been like. You both have players that have played a lot of basketball so far.
I don't know. I mean, so I met Brent actually last year because our sons were on the same AAU team. Like it much. It was a bit jarring because it's different than playing, rec ball. All of a sudden kids are ripping the ball out of your hand. And so I think he was still a little taken aback, but it was also, even at 4th grade, we're focused on winning versus getting these kids developed. So the kids who had more experience were like on the court, and kids who didn't, you sit there. With AAU, I haven't been overwhelmed by the experience. I think it's a little too focused on winning and less on developing the fundamentals that will get them as they get older and be able to actually play, which I think is more important than winning some random tournament with other teams from New Hampshire in 6th grade. I just don't. I mean, that T-shirt's nice to have, but it doesn't mean a lot. So, that's, and it affected his confidence, frankly. And so that's been one of, I think, an issue because so that was sort of our experience. And it's been a battle for us to find the right fit, because I feel like either he's been on a team that is really sort of below his skill set, or a team that is like the AU, who's skilled players, but it's not the right fit, because I actually think it's more of the coaching because the kids are all overall nice kids. It's not, it's not like they're jerks or anything overall. So finding that right mixture of development and, working on those fundamentals. And that's why we had gone into Hoops Lab a little bit in the spring just to work on his shot and stuff. And we actually, Jack and say you had some skill sessions with there, and which was great. And when I saw you were taking over or buying it, BJ, and I read your your sort of philosophy on it, and it sort of meant it felt like a good fit. Jack really enjoyed his first session, but I think part of it is developing that confidence and what you can do with the ball, and just working on those skills. I think is what will help him the most. I haven't found yet, I don't think, the right fit in terms of a program. And he had a good time actually on his junior high team this year. They weren't very good, but
that's what I was going to ask. How did that level of the school team kind of calibrate for him?
So it was interesting. It was 6th and 7th graders, and it's especially for him, there's a big size difference. But he had a big role on the team, and the coaches were very supportive of him. So that means he plays better because now he knows if he makes a mistake, he's not immediately out.
Right.
And so he had a good
let me chime in for 1 second there, Josh, because I only watched like 5 minutes of the game that Jack was in for the whole season.
Right.
And I could see a total transformation in the way, because I know he can play like that. But the first time I really saw him confidently come down and shoot was when he was on that JV team.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the pressure to not make mistakes is like crippling for that age group, especially.
It's hard. So he had fun. I mean, they weren't a good team. They lost all the games other than like an inter-squad scrimmage. But to him, yeah, he wants to win. But it's really about, did you play well? Did you have fun? Did you feel like you helped?
Yeah.
And that was it. That's what he enjoys. And so he did enjoy the junior high teams. That was a good experience thing for him this winter. But, really our goal with you, BJ, as we go forward is this idea of, even yesterday, working on that confidence and working on that feeling like I know what I can do. It doesn't really matter who's else around me. I know what I can do, and I'm going to try to involve others, but also feel confident in making my decisions.
Yeah. I think that's the right focus to have. I think I like to call it concrete confidence. So it's not the go be your best self kind of confidence. It's we're building from the sneakers up. All the pieces they need to be being a confident assassin on the court and know exactly what they know and how to do it. And then, everything kind of flows from that. So that's great. I want to circle back maybe to talking about, how we can try to crack the nut of, calibrating the right level of competition. Because I think I'm hearing the kind of recurring story from a lot of parents that we work with. It's like, the rec team is terrible. We're not learning anything. And the AAU team is just about winning. And, it's kind of too much. And, where's that medium that we can try to figure out? So, Brent, you want to talk a little bit about your experience so far with how you've brought SAU through different programs and share?
Yeah, so SAU was basically born. He's loved basketball since he was 2 years old, and I think he's improved and kept his passion for it despite playing AAU. I think that AU was fine during COVID because the Connie Bean wasn't open, but I think that, and Josh and I have talked about this constantly, but I think that the whole AAU model is it's about making money, which is fine, but it also loses what should really be the focus now, which is learning, improvement. Like, I don't care how many BS games they win against some team in Mass who doesn't matter in like 5th and 6th grade. Who cares?
Yeah.
But that's what the coach wants to be able to say, oh, I went 12-0 against some random, like, first of all, you're playing teams that aren't very good.
Yeah.
And who cares? Like,
yeah.
And so it's just really, AU it's all about, games that don't, in my opinion, don't matter. So many games that make winning or losing meaningless.
Right.
And you can't reflect on what happened in the game because you're playing all these games. And frankly, I thought we were spending more time driving to and from and going all this stuff than actually, so what happened was we decided to take a break in the winter. He's improved more in like the last 3 months than he has in the last 2.5 years because he's not, going to AAU, and he practices a lot himself, which is good. But also,
But to BJ's point, it's it takes time, it takes travel, and finding that selective and right competition is important.
Right.
Because they want that. It's important for them, and it just kind of depends on what the scholastic program is going to be in your community, when they can access that. So
I almost lean to, so I know everyone talks about competition. And yeah, it's great to play against good players, but I also think at this age, just playing time is really important because that's why I think 7 players on a team makes sense, because at the end of the day, sort of like LeBron's son is playing on this great team in California, and he hasn't really gotten playing time really until this year. And I would argue that if he went to a team where he's playing since his freshman year, he'd probably be more advanced than he is now.
Yeah.
And
I see that a lot with the young high school players. They want to make the varsity team, but then they're sitting on the bench the whole season, and
right.
they flame out, their sophomore or junior year because they never touched the ball enough to progress to be a varsity level player.
Yeah.
If they had maybe the raw talent to start out. But I don't know. I assume you don't mind me sharing, Jeff, that it's the Journeyman program that's actually running this. Their Journeyman Select is the AU program that Sky's going to be on. So I know Josh had just mentioned, and Brent's familiar with the Journeyman program too. You guys might try out. I've been recommending them for a couple of years now because they just do a really good job of kind of matching that middle segment between the two ends of the spectrum we're talking about, where they kind of have an easygoing, almost like a rec level approach, but they have really good coaching, and they do a lot of work with breaking down practice and really letting the kids come along. And then they're really focused on kind of an easygoing league environment where their kids are there to play and everybody's going to get playing time, and they start to just work out some of the kinks. And they're very committed to allowing for mistakes to happen and allowing kids to work it out. So they're not going to have that approach where you make a mistake, you're out of the game, and we're threatening you almost if you make a turnover. They're really great for that. So I'm constantly talking to parents that are in both programs, and the more I hear about them, the more I think they're a really good fit for especially that 5th to 7th age group. I think is really good. And I'm really I'm really interested in trying to crack this nut for people, because we have so many people coming to us asking our recommendation for what program to go to. It's I think I mentioned I said it to Josh the other night, we need a Seacoast sorting hat. Like, we need a way for players to come in and be evaluated in a way where we could say, oh, you got these 7 boxes checked, you fit with the Journeyman program. Like, here's our best program to send you to. But I think what we're all concluding is that the fundamental skills is missing for most team programs, and finding a level of competition that is a little bit of a stretch, but is not pushing you to the point where, like Jack's experience, you're deferring to other players and passing up your own shot just so that you don't make a mistake. Right? You end up playing not to lose, almost. You play not to make a mistake instead of playing aggressively to score.
From my perspective, frankly, I think having a coach who's super positive, even if he knows nothing about basketball, better than having someone who's negative.
Yeah, no, I think the positive guy that doesn't know a lot is a lot better situation, because he's positive, and B, he's not getting in the way with his own ego about what he knows about basketball. He's like letting the kids play and experience and evolve their own abilities there.
Yeah, I mean, because for me, talking about Sayu and sounds like Kai. I mean, Jack just loved basketball, and so what I don't want is him to. I don't care if he decides tomorrow he never wants to play again. That's totally his decision because I'm not banking on retiring off his playing career. So, but what I don't want is him not to play because he feels like he doesn't enjoy it, and that's my thing. And I found there was a period where he really wasn't practicing outside at all anymore by himself, and he would usually want to just go out.
Yeah.
And I think that was part of it. And he's this winter he's gotten some of that enjoyment back, and that's the biggest part. And that's why we laughed, Jeff, because Brent and I just started talking about Journeyman before I went to BJ, and then we talked about it last night. So because we both reached out because frankly I saw I'd heard about them, and then I looked online and I just liked their philosophy on the website. It just seemed to fit pretty well. So I'm curious. We've reached out, but it looks like the summer. But I'm curious. I'd be curious actually as we go forward to hear your experience there, Kyle experience there, but also what you think of it as you go forward.
Yeah, I've always been aware of them. I think the kids that I've seen in Oyster River participate in the program down there have had nothing but positive experiences, especially the parents telling me about their interactions with, is it JP that runs it?
That's right.
And then just generally the community there. So Kai did one weekend set of skills and drills. But at the time he had some friends that were participating in Spartans, and he really wanted to give that a try.
Mhm.
And he really liked the competition. So we didn't go back to Journeyman, but now with his freshman coach getting involved, and he's going to have either a ninth grade team or a 9th, 10th grade team for the spring. We're gonna do that and just ride it out for as long as we can. And it's nice that the Journeymen have made an arrangement with St. Patrick's Academy because it's a brand new facility. It's gorgeous inside.
Yeah,
That's a great gym.
Yeah, I agree. And it's interesting. Josh and I had never even heard of it. And I think maybe Josh asked me or my younger son. And then I asked my older son, he was like, oh yeah, I went to camp with a guy who did it and he was pretty good. So, and he had good things to say about it. And it sounds like definitely a good option.
Yeah. No, I think it's a really good fit for, most kids that are trying to solve the problems we're talking about for sure. And
BJ, if the one thing I will say is that we had pre-COVID really good experiences with the week-long UNH camp.
Okay.
If you are looking for some filler in the summer.
Yeah.
They end up working with a lot of the UNH men's basketball team and some of the women's. But our local boys had really good experiences with that. And I don't know how it looks now with COVID, but they took the last 2 years off and didn't do it. But that's a consideration for your boys in the summertime. They'd be at a good age for that experience and could mesh with whatever else they're doing. It's more of a summertime thing. You're at the university, so you get access to their facilities, and they let them swim in the pool and stuff like that for a break. So that's a nice little seacoast thing that we have going for us.
Yeah, no, they're a great resource. We have our town rec. I live out in Nottingham, and our town rec does a partnership with the UNH. So we go to a UNH game with all our players, and then at the halftime show, we get out and they scrimmage up and down on the big court.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Wow. Great experience. I want to circle back to something that Joshua was saying real quick about Jack, kind of losing the motivation to practice in the driveway. Because that's another really common complaint I hear from parents that I think comes out of, the negative coaching and, just kind of killing the game in a lot of ways for players. It's not fun. Like we're not working on, we're working on only 5-on-5 or, 5-on-0 practice patterns in practice, and like the kids don't have any pieces that they could actually contextualize to them alone in the court working on. It's like maybe we do some stationary ball handling, or stationary passing with a partner, and then we're off into 5-on-0 set plays. And so I see a lot of kids that, really don't get out in the driveway. Like most parents will talk about, when I was a kid, I would get out every day in the driveway and shoot around, right? And it's like not a common thing anymore for kids. And I think that's one of the reasons is that, they get the context they know for basketball is only with 5 other players on the court, and we're only working on these big 5-person patterns, and we don't actually know how to break down the skill and go to work on it ourselves. And so
Yeah, that was
what's your
my
guys' experience been like that? I know Sayu seems to practice a lot by himself at the Portsmouth Middle School, I guess, the County Bean.
Yeah, that was definitely my criticism, especially, this year, but younger, like there's no reason ever to play zone defense or press for anyone who's like younger than 8th grade. And everyone knows if you want to win an AAU, that's what you do, because kids can't shoot from the outside and they're, not skilled enough to break a press and a dribble. But that's what all the AAU coaches do, because they want to be able to say, oh, I was 16-0, and it doesn't contribute to the learning of the players at all.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a really good point. So I guess one of my motivations, one of my wins, I guess, is that when I get some feedback that a kid that had stopped working in their driveway at all is suddenly, this summer he's back out there and working on stuff on his own, because, we've given him a tool set that he can actually, develop and get some repetition on his own. And he understands it to the point where it's like, if I do it this way, more repetitions is going to get me better at it and like lead to results. Like they start to connect those dots again. And I think that's a hugely powerful tool that a lot of kids, either get burned out or they never get that approach and kind of miss out on that.
Well, BJ, I would say that's where I see Kai making big strides with you, because he's really at that point. Freshman year was pivotal for him. He's just emerged as a leader of his team and just playing some clutch basketball. And I've even seen it just in a couple of sessions with you. He's playing with confidence and is absorbing a lot of things you're talking about. And I want him to feel like he can take control of his own game, that, whatever you do, whatever your profession is, whatever your academics or your sport is, putting in the time, the dedication, because you love it and you can control that piece.
Yeah.
You control your own destiny in a way, whether it's more reps or, more laps or, just pick the sport. That to me is a pivotal time for an athlete to take it to the next level for themselves.
Yeah.
And then it really starts to show in their performance and team performance. So, I think your program is going to help Kai with that, as far as I can tell, and, I'd be curious just see how that unfolds for him.
Right. Yeah. Thanks for saying that. I think that's a really big concept for a lot of kids, is that, kind of like we're describing, they're on a team, maybe it's political, maybe it's, just bigger kids that are stronger and faster at the team they're at. Like it's out of their control whether they make the team, whether they get playing time, whether they have any success on the court. And so, anything we can do to rein that in and give them, here's my bubble of skill that I know I have control over. Like that is a starting point that they can really build out of, for sure.
Yeah. No AAU coach or parent should steal a kid's athletic promise away from him at this age. You know what I mean? That's what pisses me off about AAU. Those coaches have no business trying to squelch a kid's enthusiasm for the sport. You know what I mean? So it's like shame on them for even going down that road.
But and I was gonna say, BJ, good example of Jack. So Jack did the shooting machine after the session with BJ.
Giggling, I should add.
He was giggling away, like he thought it was like the best thing he'd ever seen and done. And you were like, I don't see many kids giggling while they're shooting, but that was a perfect example of like he just wants to have fun out there and develop. So like to have that experience is how I think it's so important. And this idea that at this age to take that away from them, because you only have the chance to play these sports for so long, and then you get a group like us and you can play, but it's not the same. And so I just want them to have fun doing it and feel confident.
So true.
I think this experience is not uncommon. And, look, basketball is a sport where it's a lot of on you. I think I was saying last night, or when we were at like soccer, you could not be a great player, but you can serve a role as a body and move. And,
Right.
I can, when I coached, not high level, but when I coached the travel team, like I could find spots for kids, you can put them in. Whereas basketball, like you're out there, you're exposed, like, and when you make a mistake or you get blocked or it's like you're on that spotlight. So,
Sure.
Developing that confidence is so critical.
Yeah, I think that highlights another thing I hear a lot. And I think one reason that I enjoy the one-on-one coaching so much is that, kids really do feel like they're in a fishbowl when they're on the court. It's like everybody, not only my teammates and my coaches and the parents and the fans and stand, like everybody's waiting for me to make a mistake. And it's just so much pressure when, they're still trying to figure it out. They need room to make mistakes to just work the kinks out and make stuff happen. And so, even some kids, even in a group training session, I'll often work with a group of 6 and we'll go through some team concepts as well as skills. And like, even that is too much because, the 5 other peers are staring at me while I attempt this new skill is like too much pressure. So like having one reason I really like the Hoops Lab is like, there's nobody else in here. It's like private space. And like, we're here for you to give you the room you need to just work through it and make it happen. And then, they get 100 repetitions with us doing it, private space. So their confidence is at least that next notch up. And then they're willing to go try it, in their team practice or maybe in a game at that point. And I think that's, I guess that's one of my favorite reasons I like one-on-one coaching, is just to give kids that room because they don't get it otherwise. Not only are they're not really getting that skill instruction, but they're not getting the chance or the space to make a mistake and work through what it takes to really get a skill mastered. So cool. Any other questions for me, guys?
I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm always interested in hearing Jeff and Brent and I've talked a lot, but from your perspective, what you've seen in terms of development with kids and what's most effective. Obviously every kid's different, but I'm always interested to hear that. I'm cognizant of not being too, I don't want kind of not being too with Jack, like making it so that it's his and that he wants to be out there versus dad wants me out playing. So,
right.
I'm curious.
Very important difference. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'd be curious.
The push versus the pull.
Right.
If the kid's pulling information and wants more and more and more, then, they're going to stay motivated a lot better than, it's the parent pushing them like, get out the door on this team and go play.
Right.
So,
I would be curious, BJ, maybe for a future conversation, because I asked because they were doing weightlifting just 2 days a week at his school.
Okay.
He's definitely interested in that. And I think, growing up playing tennis, there's no, like I do CrossFit now. There's nothing like, when we were growing up, it was just play, 24/7 and that's what you did. Whereas I think he can improve even more if he did a combination weight training plus, hoops. So I know you'd mentioned that you might consider offering that, but he'd definitely be interested in doing.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do it. We might even have our, my right-hand man right now is Kelly Coder, one of our coaches. You guys will probably meet on the court at one point, but he has his own business called Postural Foundations, which I described as kind of the complement to chiropractic work. So instead of adjusting the bone structure, he goes after the muscular symmetry that's going to actually keep your body aligned. And so he's been a big asset. So he runs what we call our injury prevention program, which, kind of like we do with the basketball, we start really basic foundational movement stuff, and then we build players toward, actual strength training. And so we definitely have plans. We're still working out the final details of what the schedule is going to look like and so forth. But we do plan to offer something like that. And I think there's absolutely a huge benefit, starting in 6th grade with that kind of stuff. Like by the time you're a freshman, you have a huge jump in your athletic potential.
Yeah.
Building a bigger pyramid by starting earlier with a broader base kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's great. We could definitely touch on both of those. I think they're somewhat related. How do we create the best development? How does the athletic training, weightlifting side tie into that? So awesome. Thank you guys.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. See ya.
See ya.
All right.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.